Hey guys, coming to you again from the Hilferty household. Different room this time. Um, I wanted to talk today about Franklin Roosevelt's speech that he gave following the attack on Pearl Harbor. Now, remember that Pearl Harbor was December 7th, 1941, and it was a Sunday morning in Hawaii. And the United States was attacked by Japan at about, I believe it was about 7 o'clock in the morning in Hawaiian time, which would have been afternoon in the Eastern Standard Time, I guess, in Washington D.C. So it was Sunday afternoon that Franklin Roosevelt learned about this attack, and he immediately wrote a speech. It was not written by a speechwriter like many of his speeches were. He wrote this himself. And this speech has been considered one of the greatest in American history. And in fact, this event, the attack on Pearl Harbor, has really been considered one of the turning points in not just American history, but in the history of the world. It may seem like it's an overstatement, but I kind of want you to think about why people have said that this is a turning point in world history, certainly American history. And this speech that Franklin Roosevelt gives it, in my view, it really nails the enormity of that moment that the world changes. This was their September 11th. This was that generation September 11th. And yes, it was a naval base that was attacked, so maybe it's a little different than civilians being attacked, but this was a moment that really changed the course of American history. And the first attack on American soil since really, I guess, the War of 1812, really. Remember that most of our wars have been fought abroad. So this was an attack on American soil, and Franklin Roosevelt, the next morning, December 8th, Monday, he meets with both houses of Congress, and he asks them to declare war on Japan. So what I want you to think about is the impact that this speech may have had on the American people and Congress. This speech, it's pretty cool. YouTube now has the video from this speech, but every American was listening to this speech on the radio, because remember, this is the days before television. So Franklin Roosevelt knows that people will be listening to him really around the world, and he, I think, recognizes the importance of this moment. So I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to let you listen to the master himself, Franklin Roosevelt, and be sure to answer those questions. I'll jump in every once in a while with commentary, but yeah, let's listen and watch.
Senators and representatives, I have the distinguished honor of presenting the President of the United States. Mr. Vice President,
Again, especially this first line, people think
members of the Senate,
was just so well done. Why is that, you
of
think?
Representatives,
Coming up.
yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. The attack yesterday on the Hawaiian Islands has caused severe damage to American naval and military tell you that very many American lives have been lost. In addition, American ships have been reported torpedoed on the high seas between San Francisco and Honolulu. As Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken for our defense, but always will our whole nation remember the character of the onslaught against us.
You can kind of feel the seriousness of this
No
moment.
matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
Nailed it.
I believe that I interpret the will of the Congress and of the people when I assert that we will not only defend ourselves to the uttermost, but will make it very certain that this form of treachery shall never again endanger us.
See, think about that part of the speech. He's not just talking about today, but in the future for the next however many years.
Hostilities exist. There is no blinking at the fact that our people, our territory, and our interests are in grave danger. With confidence in our armed forces,
Good line.
with the unbounding determination of our people, we will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God.
It's a crowd pleaser.
I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
So there you go. He's asking Congress to declare war. It's interesting. He says a state of war has existed. So he's almost saying the war's already started. They attacked us. They started it. Again, why is this a turning point in American history and even maybe the history of the world? And what do you think of the speech? Do you think he really captured it? I especially want you to think about that first line, a date which will live in infamy. Look up the word infamy because, interesting story. Just very quickly, I'll go through this because I know you're tired of seeing me. But, interesting story is that he, oh, yeah, that's right. I read this. He originally had in his speech, December 7, 1941, a date which will live forever in world history. You think he made the right choice by changing that? I'll tell you what. You add that to your homework, that bonus question to see if you're really paying attention to the thing, to the video. If you add whether or not you think he made the right choice in changing it from a date that will live in world history to a date that will live in infamy, if you answer that question, whether you think that was a good decision, and explain why, you get a Hill Bill. I'll be like Oprah. You get a Hill Bill. You get a Hill Bill. No. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking now, but I'm just going to show you this last cool thing as proof that you were paying attention to the whole video. This is my little, every time I bring in like a guest appearance or something from my house to see that you were paying attention. So this is really cool. I got this at Bed Bath & Beyond. It is